I have a really good question. As a real estate agent, we all want to be on social media, but let's talk YouTube. What do you think is the biggest challenge for real estate agents when it comes to YouTube?
Think it is the time period because ideally YouTube videos are longer than Instagram, TikTok, that sort of thing. You want to stretch it out to that 8 to 12 minutes. That's the sweet spot for YouTube videos. And if they're already used to doing shorter content, then it takes a little bit more muscle to build to that longer content. And also just not having the strategy, not knowing what works and what doesn't, because every platform has an algorithm and that algorithm works differently for all of these platforms. So I'm the YouTube expert, which is a little bit different than how Instagram and TikTok are going to react to your content.
So, I am Carrie Little. I am your host of Coffee with Carrie every Fridays, typically on Instagram at 9:05 a.m. Central. And I have a YouTube influencer, well over 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. So, Shaheedah Hill, tell everyone who you are.
All right. I'm Shaheedah Hill. I'm a real estate agent and YouTuber. I put those two things together in Atlanta. And I started full time YouTube in 2020, right when the pandemic started. And I was doing YouTube and I was dibbling and dabbling in the Atlanta market. And I decided after my 30th video to make my channel national. And I've been doing it ever since. I do trainings on YouTube now to help other agents break through on the platform. I'm also a mother and I have two children. I've been married for 20 years now. This year has been 20 years. So I'm really excited to be here, Carrie. Thank you for having me.
So, you said a lot. You, you, mom, wife, happy anniversary. 20
Thank
years is a huge milestone. That could be your future channel when you decide to quit talking real
you.
estate because
Right,
because there are a lot of people out here trying to figure that out,
right,
the stability in a marriage. So you have a family, but you are someone that we all strive to be when it comes to building a following on YouTube. I know, fun fact, the Illinois Math and Science Academy is really close to me here in Illinois. And the kids that came up, or one of the kids that started YouTube came from the Illinois Math and Science Academy.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
and then Google bought it. And I've watched YouTube, I learned from YouTube, and my goal in, during the pandemic, like you, was to really focus on YouTube, but it hasn't worked as well for me. But it's worked for you. And so 2022, you had what, 30 videos, and then you
Right,
pivoted and you said, this is what I'm going to do. And
right,
then and you said, real estate agents and really almost anyone, because anyone could be watching this, we get stuck in our head and we won't do the work. You said, what are some things or some tips that you would give to any professional, specifically real estate agents, to help them get over themselves and just on social media, they're like, just create the content.
right. Okay. My biggest one that I try to focus on is your audience needs to be more important than your ego. Because a lot of things that stop you from recording, it could be how my hair looks today, or how my makeup looks, or how I sound, and all of those things. Your audience has to be bigger than that. So, and I started with first time home buyers, and my niche was first generation, first time home buyers. And that was very intentional because I came from an Atlanta market where I was focusing on first time home buyers. So I knew their pain points. And so when I decided to go national and not just focus on Atlanta content, that was still the audience that I brought with me. Because especially during the pandemic, although I started my channel in 2019 and I kind of already had content, the pandemic, you had a lot of people trying to take that opportunity of these low interest rates, but they were still scared because they were these first generation, first time home buyers. So every time that I came on, I knew, I said, this is my audience. They've never bought a house before. They can't ask their mother. They can't ask their grandmother. They are coming on YouTube because they're scared to jump, but they really should. They see that, oh, these interest rates are 2%, 3%. I can afford it, but I'm so scared of the process. So a lot of people turn to me during that time to teach them what that process was. So your audience, whatever that is, if it's a luxury market, if it's the millennial market, if it's retirees, you have to focus so heavily on that audience that you let your ego, you put your ego to the side and really focus on them.
There's truth in nobody really cares what you look like. They care about what you have to say.
Yes, I agree with that.
So you niche down and you really focused on first time home buyers, first generational buyers,
Usually
and
people making out like, and I try to tell people be really specific. I would, in that time period, I was like, oh, they're making under $100,000. They might have a family, and also they may need down payment assistance. Like that was another thing that I put when I, said what these who these people are. Those are the people, because I think some people, they're just, I want to talk to everyone. Like, not a good idea. Right? You need to start talking to those specific people, so when they see your content, not only can they binge it, but they have this feeling like, oh, she's for me, or this channel is for me. If they don't feel that, at the very beginning, you're not going to be able to maintain them. You want to be able to maintain them longer term.
so niche down. Audience is important. Get over yourself and binge. Be able to
Binge. Like you
binge
want to be
watch
like
the
a Netflix
content.
channel where people can come and they're not going to be, oh, one day you're talking about luxury homes and the next day you're talking about condos, $200,000 condos. Like you want to be able to be consistent with your content because that's the primary person you're trying to reach. And they can't just watch one or two of your videos. They're going to stay and watch like 10 of your videos. And you're
Because I was on your channel, and I like to binge the shorts.
right.
And first thing, one of the videos I saw was rats. I was like, I'm in.
Right. Yeah, like you have to get their attention. That's one of your goals, even though it might seem a little bit clickbaity. if you're if that audience is important to you, one of the things you said, what would get my audience's attention? And so when I'm doing my videos and I'm thinking about what this hook needs to be, I'm saying, okay, what is my audience? What's going to stop my audience from scrolling so they can pay attention and really get the content that I want them to have?
So let's go back to the audience. When you decided to really make the switch in 2022 and truly focus on building content for YouTube, do you remember how many subscribers you had?
No, I don't know. I wish, Carrie, I wish during this process that I would have written down, like, okay, I have this many subscribers, but everything was moving so quickly that it was hard for me to do that, right? But I know when I left, when I went from just Atlanta content, because when I started, it was just Atlanta and I was doing well. I was doing like 15 consultations a week. And it was just myself. So I would do 15 consultations a week, 3 days a week, and then I would like in Calendly like 15-minute consultations. And I wasn't monetized. So in order to get monetized on YouTube, you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 3,000 hours of watch time. So I know I wasn't monetized during that time when I was getting those 15 leads a week. However, so I do know that. But I think I had 1,000 subscribers, but I didn't have the watch time yet because I had less than 30 videos. So I know that when I made the decision to go from, let me go back a little bit. Hopefully, I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. But I was a teacher, right? And YouTube was free. And I paid for Zillow leads for a little while. And I said, I need something that's going to be free. So I switched over to YouTube as an option after hearing other agents talking about it. And my daughter at the time was asking to not be the last people picked up from school. So I'm teaching full time. I'm doing real estate on the side. And then I have this little kindergartner, right? Kindergartner, first grader saying, can you pick us up on time? Because there was like an after school program. And if they had me picking up at 6 o'clock, I was picking them up at 5:59. So she was saying, could you just please pick us up? So I said, I have to find something that's going to work. So that's when I kind of went all in on YouTube. Now this same little girl, right? So now I'm doing well, 15, 15 leads, doing these consultations a week. I'm closing deals. I'm doing this. But now she says to me, she goes, you're never home. Like you're always working, right? Because now I'm not teaching anymore, but like this is overwhelming. And then, so I said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to teach or do real estate? And she goes, what pays you more? And I said, real estate pays me a lot more. And she said, I want you to go back to teaching. And so that's when I had to figure out how to monetize YouTube that I didn't need to depend on just clients. So that's the switch that I had to make because YouTube does pay you separately as well.
So from the mouth of babes.
Yes, from the mouth of babes.
And your kids will tell you what they want, and you had an ear to hear what
What
your
you want,
child
yeah.
was.
That a lot of us as mothers get into real estate for the flexibility. But oftentimes that flexibility gets into our Saturdays, our Sundays, and it kind of takes up a lot of time that maybe you didn't anticipate. And YouTube was allowing me to get freedom on both sides, to
Yeah, I
be
could
able to
interview
bring
you
that
every day
opportunity.
and talk about motherhood because when I got
Right,
licensed, my goal was to have flexibility, but that wasn't really true. And then I said, let me just say how much money I want to make
right,
because I wanted to take my kids to the swimming pool all summer, and
right,
so I had to cut back. So the fact that your daughter is telling you what she wants and the fact that she doesn't want to be the last person picked up. Can you pick us up
right.
early?
Hmm.
You made the pivot, and so here we are on YouTube.
Right.
So I'm gonna so for everybody that's like, okay, we're over 200,000 subscribers. And you clearly you had 1,000 when you made the pivot, and then you needed so many watch hours. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's still 3,000 today. It could be more. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like it's still the same, but they give you a lot of different ways to monetize. So you could, people can super chat you, like send you money through the platform. So they have different ways, but I think like YouTube pays me every month on the 21st. Like I get a check. So that is the monetization of the ads that people watch on your videos. And so that's what I wanted to try to make that switch. And then I sell things to my audience now because when I started, I didn't have that intention in mind to say, okay, I have this audience, but how can I monetize them? Because now they're in South Carolina or California, or, I didn't have that plan up front. I hadn't had to back my way into it.
So so you have these subscribers.
Yes.
And as a real estate agent, even as a real estate agent, what we want to do is we want to go from here to here overnight. And social media makes us believe that we can go from here to here overnight, but there's all these little things in the middle. And you
Right.
made a really big statement: consistency. One word,
Yes. Oh, yeah.
consistency.
Big time.
And of course, I want people to come learn from you. So we're not going to give them everything.
Okay.
So if we were, when we say consistency, what does that really look like? Because at the beginning you said 8 to 12 minutes is the sweet spot. How
Right.
many, how often do you actually post on YouTube? Is it the 8 to 12 minutes? Is it just shorts?
Yeah. I tell people, agents that are just starting out, for long form content, you want to do at least one video a week. So that'll be 4 videos a month. I don't recommend shorts because YouTube made shorts to compete with TikTok. And currently they're two different algorithms for the most part. So sometimes your shorts on YouTube are in direct conflict with your long form content. So I tell people that keep your shorts and your long form separate. If you want to do shorts on YouTube, you need a shorts channel. If you want to do long form on YouTube, you need a long form channel because you're not going to be able a lot of times to do both without them kind of interacting with each other. And I think a lot of, I'm on a lot of groups, a lot of trainings where most agents try to keep those separate that have big platforms, try to keep those separate as much as possible. And I did try it. So every once in a while, I'll come out with a short that I feel like, let me just test this. Let me see how this is going to work. But for the most part, I don't focus on shorts. I focus on long form content. So that's anything over a minute. But I say like that's 8 to 12 is generally the sweet spot. And some people are even doing longer. Like you'll see sometimes they're going 15 minutes, 20 minutes on YouTube now.
Yeah, and I think your 8 to 12 is probably the best way to go.
Mhm.
And sometimes when I record, I need to like script myself because I feel like I'm just saying more than they need to know.
Right.
So when you create your content, do you create content based on what you learn in the field and make it available? Because when you become a real estate agent
Right.
today, we've got all these different social media platforms, and the first thing that instructors say is you need a Facebook, you need this, you need this,
Right.
and whether it's all of them or let's just say one, we come out with the first 10 tips to home ownership or steps.
Right.
How did we figure out how to make it fun, entertaining, and consumable?
Yeah, I really focus on, especially in my trainings, the local market. So, like I said, I went from a local Atlanta agent and doing that well to national, and that was a pivot that I made because of my family, because it was taking me, and I didn't have a team. So you have so many options with YouTube that I say that first focus on your local area, and that's another mistake a lot of agents make is like, oh, I'm in Texas, say I'm in Houston, and I have a Houston, Texas real estate channel, but the video that I do is top 10 home buyer tips. Like that's a general video. That's not specific to Houston, right? So now you're thrown in the algorithm with every general YouTube channel with tips. It's much easier for you to break through if you say these are the top 10 neighborhoods in Houston, Texas. There's less competition there. There's less things that you need to do. So I really tell, and it's hard for them to like hear this a lot of times. Focus on local content that is going to be, well received by your local market, and not do any general content unless you're looking for a national audience, because there's two different things. And that algorithm, you're going to confuse. I say never confuse the algorithm. Okay. I've done videos, like I know my primary buyer is a first time home buyer. I kind of talked about that. When I do videos for sellers, they tank because that's YouTube's like, oh, what are you doing, Shaheedah? You're like a home buyer channel. Like YouTube will have who you are and who you're trying to reach. And when you do something different from that, that algorithm's like, are you changing your channel? Right. So, and it'll confuse them. So when you're going from general content, local content, the algorithm is confused as to who to recommend your content to.
So, you know, I was watching your channel and
Mhm.
I'm clear that you're good with the controversy.
Okay. Yes.
Cause when we were, when our local association was trying to find speakers for the upcoming event, I remember scrolling through your feed and there was one that says, you don't need to pay a real estate agent.
Ooh.
I'm in.
Right.
I'm in. But it doesn't really mean that you said don't pay an agent. You
Right.
just the hook, and then
Yes.
you talked about, the what and the why.
Right.
And people need to understand that you're creating content for the public, not for us.
Yes. Yeah, it's the audience, because when I'm thinking about my audience, that's one, that first time home buyer, whatever, what is going to grab their attention, because they were going from everybody saying, it's free, right? That's, you don't have to pay me. You can, agent is no charge to you, till it's changing to now you have to pay me. Like you have to, write down that you're going to pay me, whatever that percentage is up front. And so that is a change from what's being said. And I'm working for them. Like my channel is for them. And I'm going to explain to them how to do that. And then the risks of not of being a first time home buyer without an agent. Right. So you have to speak to your audience. And sometimes your audience is not real estate agents. Your audience are those buyers, those sellers that you want to work with. And what are they most interested in hearing?
Yeah, because I
People want honesty and authenticity a lot of times.
and I'm sure when you go to your feed,
Oh yeah.
you people are just coming in on you, and I
Right.
and because at the beginning you said you got to get over yourself. The
Right.
truth is as real estate agents, we don't matter, because your job is to, number one, possibly generate new business, number two, generate referral business, number three, help the public, and that's really what license law says, is to protect the public, and you're
Right.
doing all of those things.
Yeah, and they have a different level of education, of course, of experience, of all those things. And people are going to social media to find out what they need to know. And while they're scrolling like the little funny ads or the, just regular content, how are you going to make them stop and look at your video? You have to get their attention, because they'll never, I always say the title is most important, then it's your thumbnail, and then it's your content. If they're not attracted to your thumbnail, they're never going to even click on it to watch your content. Your content can be amazing, right? But nobody's watching it because you couldn't get their attention, because you didn't take, 10 minutes to make a thumbnail for it. So they knew what the video was about. So those things are very important up front. And people spend so much time, well, my lighting, my camera, my this, my that. I said, they're never going to see it. They're never going to see it because you don't have the basic things set up. You'll be surprised. There's a lot of videos. When I first started, I tell people this, it was just my Android phone, Android, Android phone, and no, and light. That's all I had. I had Android and a light. I didn't have a microphone. I didn't have anything fancy. I didn't have a teleprompter. I had nothing. And I was able to get those 15 leads because I was giving them information that they weren't hearing other places.
Okay, so before we end and
Mhm.
we tell people how to find you, what are two or three things you would say to a real estate agent on why they should use YouTube, niche down? What are two or three takeaways?
Okay, one thing, YouTube, I put over other platforms because the content lasts so much longer. I feel like on TikTok, Instagram, you have to consistently feed it for them to show your content to new audiences. YouTube, literally, you can have a video that was 2 years old, but if it's still relevant, the content it still makes sense, they'll feed that video to new audiences. So as far as the life of a video, they're much longer on YouTube than they are on TikTok or Instagram. So that's one of the huge benefits that I tell of agents that if you don't want to constantly feed, then YouTube is a place to be for longevity of your content. The other thing is, I would say equipment doesn't matter. I have a lot of people that think that if I have the right equipment, that I'll be able to, my videos will do better. It's really who are you trying to reach? And what are you saying to that group of people that is different? Because a lot of people, we're not going to be the first because people, especially like when I come to Chicago, I usually, before I do any speeches, I research who's already killing it on YouTube in that local market. So, and I'm going to look, you're not going to be the first. There are already people with, great YouTube channels that have figured it out, right? So you have to come and be different or you have to come and be better. And sometimes it's very easy to be different because you're a different agent to begin with. And sometimes it's easy to be better if their content is not as good. So I tell people to approach it that way but really know the audience you're trying to reach and think of yourself like Netflix. You want somebody to come in and binge your content. And so you have to organize it in such a way that it's bingeable.
So, how do people find you?
Hey, it's just Shaheedah Hill. I think my name is not the easiest to spell, but it's Shaheedah Hill. Even if you spell it wrong, like if you just Google it, it'll come up. Or if you put it on YouTube, it'll come up because I don't think there's a lot of Shaheedah Hills out there. And you can watch my content. Of course, I'll be in Chicago July 29th. I hope you come and just get the strategy that you need if you want to make YouTube one of your lead sources.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I am Carrie Little. I am a member of Main Street Realtors, and July 29th in Naperville, one of the, we call it Chicagoland, right? So in one of the western suburbs, Shahida will be there. You will have a front row seat. She is our keynote speaker. And if you want to truly learn how to leverage YouTube, you need to be in this space. So get your ticket today.
All right. Thank you, Carrie. I'm so excited.